Not what we wanted to see tonight, ladies and gentlemen, after the Phillies had an incredible performance just a night ago, unable to do anything to help their cause tonight and get a win over the Cincinnati Reds. And not just a win, not just any win, but also a win that would build some momentum. Also a win that would actually secure their first series win of the season. We're going to have to wait a little bit in order to do that. You are watching the Locked On Phillies postcast. My name is Mark Farzetta. If there's a big game in Philadelphia sports, you come here to this YouTube channel afterwards for the postcast. Big game in Philly. We're talking about it right here after the game here on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel.
You are Locked On Phillies postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome, Locked On Sports, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at this list that we have here on the show that we like to present to you every single time. It pretty much covers the big three and then some as far as tonight's game goes. I always like to give you three big things in the world of baseball. When so much goes on in a game, we got to focus on a couple of things. Let's see what happens here, okay? Let's say, all right, no offense. Not going to win many games when you have no offense. How about defense? A little defense? A little defense? No defense. Not going to win a lot of games if you have no defense either. Are you able to build momentum after your superstar player, your two-time MVP, has a 3-homer night, including a grand slam, says after the game a night ago, hey, what are you going to remember about this 3-home run night? After he just rattled off how he had a 3-home run night back in 2015, I believe it was, and he had every detail down except for the actual day. It happened on May 6th. He said it happened May 7th, but whatever. So, hey, well, you remember all that stuff about when he had a 3-homer game when you were with the Nationals? Hey, Bryce Harper, what are you going to remember about this game with the Philadelphia Phillies? You know what he said? In his typical Bryce Harper, and some people say it's pandering. I don't care. Pander all you want to me. Bryce Harper, what are you going to remember about this 3-home run day? You know what he said? That it is, I want to look back on it and say this is the one that got us going so that we win one, meaning a World Series. So how did his teammates respond? Look, I know no one wants to go out there and play in the rain. Last night when they went out there and played in the rain, Bryce Harper went out there and played in the rain. What did Bryce Harper do? He had 3 home runs. Tonight, not such a great night offensively for anyone. Kyle Schwarber had a home run. Great. Kyle Schwarber's going to hit a lot of those. I was hoping it would jumpstart the inning a little bit, maybe a little bit of a rally for the Phils, but unfortunately, their bats came up small. In the limited opportunities, they had to do anything even close to damage in this game tonight. So what do we see from the Phils offense? Next to nothing. Now that brings me to the second thing on this list here, okay? The second of the big three. No defense. No defense. Say it ain't so, Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott at second base making an error. You hate to see that. He got eaten up. Bryce Harper got eaten up at first base a little bit, a couple of different times in the game. One time he was able to recover. JT Realmuto, of all people, dropping a foul ball behind the plate. It ended up not coming back to bite the Phillies in the butt, but the Bryson Stott error certainly did. You had a guy out there in Zach Wheeler. Now, when I say no defense, I literally mean the guys with the gloves. I don't mean pitching. If I said no pitching, I would put no pitching in there. But when you look at what Zach Wheeler was able to do tonight, 10 strikeouts for this guy. 10 strikeouts for Zach Wheeler. 1 earned run of the 3 surrendered while he was in the ballgame. 1 earned run. And you still can't get this guy a victory. So this means you have a guy like Zach Wheeler in his first start of the season, 6 scoreless? This game comes around, another 6 innings notched for him, just under 100 pitches or 100 on the dot, I think it was. Or was that I think it was that Stars that came out tonight. But he goes out there and he absolutely looks like Zach Wheeler, especially with the 10 Ks. And you still can't get him a victory after tonight. 6 innings, 1 run, 3 runs, 1 of them earned, only 3 hits surrendered, 1 walk issued, 93 pitches. It was Montas that had the 100 pitches on the dot. 93 pitches there for Zach Wheeler. Marte goes in there, does his job. Gregory Soto goes out there. He does his job. He ends up getting 3 strikeouts in the inning there. And then Nelson allows 1 more run for the Phillies, to the Reds, rather, in his 1 inning of work there in the 9th. I know that it's a slow burn when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies. I get it. I understand. We've watched the Phillies over the last 2 seasons when they've actually looked like a ball club that could do something, that could make some noise. And here they are, 2 wins shy of a World Series victory 2 years ago and 1 win shy of making it to back-to-back World Series. What happened in both those seasons? Slow starts to this season. One thing I will say, and that's, by the way, the fourth thing is obvious, the plenty of rain thing. This game was supposed to be 105. Yesterday they decided, no, we're not going to go 105 on the Wednesday game. Let's go 405 on the Wednesday game. Apparently that was the decree of the Cincinnati Reds to do that. I didn't know it, but there was apparently a rumor going around about how the Phillies absolutely had to get this game in because the Citizens Bank Park had a wedding scheduled for tomorrow. Saw Todd Zalecki of MLB.com put it out there saying, like, no way is that true. What a world. Have to agree with Todd on that. But they push it back. Plenty of rain throughout the day. They push it back to an 8 o'clock start time. And I guess nobody told the Phillies offense when the game was actually starting. And this is the thing that kills me the most about this game. I think a lot of teams need those jump starts. And I'm certainly not expecting the Phillies to have some kind of jump start to their season in the, 5th game of the year. I'm not expecting that to happen that early because still the Phillies are notorious over these last 2 seasons for very slow starts. Even though Bryce Harper had a 3-homer game and a grand slam a night ago, I wasn't expecting the Phillies to all of a sudden, all right, recent history be damned. Here we go. Hold on, Philadelphia. We're going to go for a ride in the early goings of the season. And you know what? We are going to compete with the Braves by season's end for the National League East crown. Wasn't thinking it. Was hoping for it. Was hoping at least for a little shot of life. Hey, win a series against the Reds. You're not going to win your first series of the season against the Braves. Win your second series of the season against the Reds. Put it in your back pocket. And unfortunately, not able to do that. So as of right now, momentum killed, squashed, drowned in the rain. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't pretty. It was actually pretty ugly with what we watched happen tonight. One player, and I really don't want to harp on him for the rest of the season, but I know, look, last year, Nick Castellanos came out, and he went the first, I want to say, 20 days of the season without a home run. It took him a minute to get that power swing going, and we're all like, Nick Castellanos, we're hoping that power was going to be there. It's not there. You saw a little bit of the early goings from Alec Boehm a year ago. You didn't see it from Nick Castellanos. But at least Nick Castellanos in the first two games of last season came out swinging, man. He went through a little slump after that, but the first 2 games, all right, it's there. We still haven't seen anything from Nick Castellanos so far. And here's what drove me bonkers tonight. And this is one of the most infuriating things when you talk about Nick Castellanos just as an individual. Nick Castellanos is a $100 million player, and the inconsistencies that many people, whether it was with Detroit, whether it was, Cincinnati, only 1 year there, he did pretty damn well in Cincinnati. But a lot of people will warn you about, Nick Castellanos, very streaky. Nick Castellanos, extremely streaky. Well, last year gets out there with 29 home runs. Oh, maybe he's fixed his problems. But you see him again not be able to lay off, especially later in the ball game, not being able to lay off low outside pitches. He got a slider, I want to say it was from Diaz towards the end of the game, that he just, definition of a flail. It was from Diaz when he led off the 9th inning. Chases that slider low and away and just tried to throw the barrel of the bat at it and still missed by a foot. And then on the defensive side of things, and I have been very complimentary of his defense ever since the World Series 2 seasons ago, of how Nick Castellanos has all of a sudden become a pretty damn good right fielder there for the Phillies. And tonight, I don't know what it was, but I'd blame the weather, except in the first 4 games of the season, we've seen a lot of this. First 6 games of the season, we've seen a lot of this. Nick Castellanos, is it possible that he got slower? Because it was pretty hard to be slow. For the Phillies fans that remember Pat Burrell, and he wasn't all that long ago, I still would pay money to see. I would make sure I have like an hour of time dedicated because they're very slow, and it would take a while to determine what it would be. But Pat Burrell versus Nick Castellanos, I wonder who would win that foot race, because that's how slow we're looking at these outfielders for the Phillies, okay? And I'm looking at Nick Castellanos, and I don't know what he is doing out there in right field. There were 2 balls. One, okay, difficult to get to. It hit high off the wall, but a catchable ball for him. I don't know if it's the scoreboard out there that's distracting him when he turns around. He's trying to get used to it because his new scoreboard out there in right field for the out-of-town scoreboard. I don't know. The slowness, the lackadaisical effort going after that final triple it ended up being, and then a run ended up scoring for the Reds. That to me is just inexcusable. And Nick Castellanos had an opportunity to get in there and make something happen, and he, for whatever reason, couldn't. And then the third thing with Nick Castellanos, how the heck does this guy keep getting second chances? If you remember in the opener, I think it was the opener, he had the fastball down the middle of the plate, little high, called a ball. He ends up getting new life. He ends up getting on base. So tonight, there's a drop foul ball by Stevenson for the Reds, their catcher. Later, JT Realmuto would drop one behind the plate. Just goes to show you how windy it really was tonight. But you see that play, and Nick Castellanos ends up working a walk. Somehow, magically, lays off a couple of pitches. He works a walk. He's standing on first base. And what happens next? Just when you thought there Nicky 3 Buttons was going to do something good for you, what happened? He got picked off. This is something that I can't just blame Nick Cas. I've seen Stott. It's happened to Stott. It's happened to Rojas. And now it's happened to Nick Castellanos. So, not great. Phillies have an off day. Phillies fans, you know what we need? We need an off day. We're going to get that off day. Thank goodness. The famous regroup adage comes into play here. So they go down to D.C. for a 3-game series with the Nationals starting on Friday night. Well, of course, we're looking at that game and breaking that one down for you. Aaron Nola will get a start in that game. He'll try to regroup from his first start of the season. And then you know what else we're going to do? We're going to look at that Nationals team that also just lost 2 of 3 to the Reds and has an opportunity to at least win a series there against the Pirates, who they're battling right now. And maybe, just maybe, come Friday, the Phillies will be facing an opponent that they'll be able to jump on a little bit. And maybe, just maybe, get the confidence going. And then maybe, just maybe, get that momentum going a little bit. Because the momentum that I was hoping for was extinguished, squashed, put out, stopped, halted, screeching halt tonight for this game against the Cincinnati Reds. There's something else I want to focus on with Zach Wheeler in particular, because you talk about bright spots with only 2 wins under your belt. Yeah, I'd like to focus on something that somebody was doing rather well tonight, and that's Zach Wheeler. We'll talk about Zach Wheeler coming up in a second, but first I do want to remind you wonderful people that you are watching Locked On Phillies postcast on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Big game in Philly. We're talking about it after the game on this very channel. Coming up, we're going to break down Zach Wheeler's performance and what he was able to do tonight. Now, but first, let's hear from our wonderful sponsors. First, we have to hear from the wonderful people at Prize Picks, ladies and gentlemen. Prize Picks, it's where it's at. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. So join the rest of the crowd, everybody. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports teams and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Sound good to you? Sounds great to me. And I have a lot of fun on this app as well. Baseball now well underway, as we know. Again, haven't told the Phillies offense yet, but don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or it's first inning runs in more particular, take your pick more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Get in on the playoff action as well when we're talking about the hardwood that's just around the corner. Play-in tournament just around the corner. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks. And as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level during the basketball postseason, like I said, that play-in tournament starts in just a couple weeks. So download the Prize Picks app. Download it today. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's, once again, download the app, Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB and the first deposit match up to $100. How about that? Let's get into Zach Wheeler. When it comes to this Phillies rotation, we broke it down pretty extensively the other night when we were talking about Aaron Nola being the only real guy to put in a clunker, other than the Phillies bullpen, of course. Just in terms of a starting pitcher, Aaron Nola the only one to put in a clunker. But looking at Zach Wheeler's performance tonight, another pitcher for the Phils that looked like he was just in dominant control. Ranger Suarez had his moment. Wheeler, of course, in the opener had his moment. Spencer Turnbull, of all people. If you would have told me that Spencer Turnbull was going to have a better first start to the season than Aaron Nola, I would have laughed in your face. But unfortunately, that's not the way it went down. Now, here's what I found really interesting about Wheeler's performance tonight. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of his being able to use the sinker well tonight, the slider well tonight, all that stuff. India for the Reds was a pain in Wheeler's behind in the first two at-bats of this game. I want to say he had about 12 pitches seen in his first two at-bats. In both counts, Wheeler went down in the count 0-2 or 1-2 in those first two counts. Each time, Wheeler had to fight his way back into the at-bat. He ends up giving a walk to India in the first inning. And then later in the game, he ends up facing him again in the third inning. This time he hits India by a pitch on an 8-pitch at bat. Wheeler was down in that count as well, 3-0 to India, and he's able to come back. Then he's able to get an out. Then you have second and third with 2 outs. Encarnacion Strand steps up there with the 2-run double. By the way, Encarnacion Strand, the longest name in MLB history. Longest name in MLB history. Just a fun fact. He gets up in that count, 1-2, throws a fastball, unable to get it by him. Encarnacion Strand puts that into left field for a 2-run double. Then he gets Candelario out there with a fly out to center field. But the way he battled India in particular in the first two at-bats showed that he's obviously going to be able to rally in any given at-bat. And then later in the game, we faced him again. I want to say this was in the the fifth inning. He gets Stevenson to strike out, looking on a sweeper, beautiful sweeper from Zach Wheeler. Then after that, India steps up to the plate for his third at-bat of the game. And this time, is it a long at-bat? Does Wheeler go down 3-0 yet again? Absolutely not. You know what Wheeler does? He goes out there, 3 pitches, and he gets him looking on a sinker out over the middle of the plate that India had no idea what was happening. The next thing you know, he was just sitting on his butt in the dugout because he had just struck out. So things were looking good for Wheeler there in the 5th inning. He comes out in the 6th inning, and this is where some trouble happens. Encarnacion Strand steps up there, and he grounds out to short for the first out of the inning. Candelario steps up there. He grounds out to short. Now you got 2 outs, nothing doing for the Reds. It looks like everything is going to go the Phillies' way. And just like that, Fraley steps up there and hits a double down the right field line. This is the play I was referring to earlier with Nick Castellanos. What the hell are you doing, Nick Castellanos? Lost it, couldn't get a beat on it. It hit a little high off the wall, but I've seen Nick Castellanos make catches like that all throughout last year, and for whatever reason this year, doesn't seem to be a thing for old Nicky 3 buttons. Next batter up is De La Cruz. He hits the double down the right field line. He challenges Castellanos again, and this time it was a 1-1 curveball just left out there a little too high from Zach Wheeler, and it goes down. Next thing you know, you're 3-0. You're down 3-0 in this game. Wheeler gets to stay in there to face Steer, and he gets the strikeout there on a high fastball. A lot of life on it, and 94 miles per hour for his 10th and final strikeout of the night. For the most part, there were a couple of big hits, clutch hits, with big opportunities that were laid out there. The one opportunity that was certainly put out there, as far as I'm concerned, is when you look at the error from Bryson Stott in the early goings of the game that ended up coming around to hurt the Phillies, especially in a tight ball game that ended up in its worst case being a 3-run game. When a pitcher is out there and you see him battling like that, and he's basically getting bad breaks, either runs or scoring because of errors, or he just barely hits a guy, tried to go onside on India on the second at bat, and in the 8th pitch of it, put it inside off the hands. India takes his base. You compound that with how that inning started off, which was Martini steps up to the plate, and he hits a grounder to Bryson Stott. Stott charges it, and it just ate him up. Now, all of a sudden, you got the leadoff hitter on. Instead of him grounding out like he should have and stop making a clean play on the ball, and I understand it's not pristine weather out there, but Stott's a pro. We've seen him make plays like this before, unable to make the play. So instead of starting out the inning, because you would have had Martini ground out on that play, and then after that, you would have had Stevenson striking out on a nasty sinker again from Zach Wheeler. You would have had 2 outs in the inning, nobody on, And then you would have put somebody on maybe with the hit by pitch when India got hit. But that's a runner on first with 2 outs. I got confidence in Wheeler can get out of it, especially when you're facing a guy like Benson who struggled in this series. He gets Benson to ground out to Bryce Harper, who did a great job of keeping it in front of him on a 3-1 put out. And that would have been the end of it. No damage, no harm, no foul, 0-0 after 3. But instead, everything started off poorly with the error from Bryson Stott and then a hit batsman. You give big league teams, and it's cliche, but you give big league teams extra outs, they're going to come back and get you. They're going to cash in those extra points that you gave them, those extra chips. They're going to cash in, and it's usually going to end to a loss for you and a win for them. Not only are you just going to stop, you're not going to stop at just giving them base runners. You're eventually going to stop at giving them W's. And that's what happened to the Phillies tonight. So I hate to see it. Absolutely hate to see it for Zach Wheeler after he gutted out the performance he gutted out tonight. But the Phillies offense just wasn't there. Bryce Harper is not alone in this in terms of killing the momentum, because Bryce Harper did not help the cause as much tonight either. He did get a hit. Nice to see it. But when you look at the rest of this lineup, Turner 0 for 4, Harper 1 for 4, Real Muto 1 for 4, Stott 0 for 3 with a walk. Castellanos somehow magically only 0 for 2. He was able to work 2 walks in the game. Marsh got you a hit. Merrifield got you a hit. Rojas got you a hit. No big hit. And the only real opportunity that the Phillies had in this game where you really felt like something was going to happen, other than watching the ball fly out of the yard off Kyle Schwarber's home run, that was the only time. All right, this is great. But the only other time that you were able to see the Phillies, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where they get something going. You have Schwarber leading off the 6th inning with that home run to right field. Absolute bullet, line drive of a home run. Pegged some guy in the chest. Poor fella. Hope he's okay. Turner then strikes out on a high fastball. Harper grounds out. You get 2 outs just like that. So it already feels like you're not going to get any momentum going for yourself. That's when JT Realmuto stepped up and hit a single to left center field. Thought he was going to be able to get a double out of it. He ended up just staying at first. Stott's able to work a walk. The thing of beauty is that I think it was still Matas in the game it was. Matas still in the game at the time. He throws him a sinker out over the middle of the plate on the first pitch. Stott went after it. Second, threw the same pitch for the second throw of the at-bat. Stott laid off it. Laid off of it. Recognized the pitch out of his hand, stayed away from it, and then he was able to work a walk. So now you got 2 runners on all of a sudden. Something brewing. First and second, 2 outs. Castellanos. I was ready to throw a parade. There was a 1-1 cutter thrown low of the zone from Matas. Low in the zone cutter that I've seen Nick Castellanos swing at every time. I'm going to go ahead on a limb. Every time a pitcher has thrown him this pitch, he has taken a hack at it. This time, patience. They practice patience. He ends up working a walk. So now, you blink and you got the bases loaded. This was a time where you needed the Phillies to get that big hit. Now, the problem is Montas goes out of the game even at 100 pitches. Wilson comes in, left-handed pitcher. Brandon Marsh is the hitter. Brandon Marsh hit 229 against left-handed pitching last year. 229 against left-handed pitching. So kudos to David Bell for knowing what the hell he was doing as a manager there for the Reds. And unfortunately, Marsh goes down, fouling out to third base to end the threat. This is the best opportunity for the Phillies to do something. It was a 3-1 ball game. A big hit at worst with 2 outs there ties it up. And we're talking about something different maybe right now. Maybe you get another round going there in the 7th inning. Maybe you actually build that momentum that you so desperately need if you're a Philly. But unfortunately, that was not the case. All right, we'll talk about where the Phillies go from here. Technically, it's Washington, D.C. to take on the Nationals, but how they pick up the pieces. And also, an incredible story if you missed it last night. Last night, we talked about Joel Embiid and his return to the NBA. So we didn't talk about Bryce Harper and some crazy things that went on in that game. There's one story I have to relay to you. You won't want to miss it because it's something you really never hear these days with travel being as good as it's supposed to be. We'll be back in a few here on the amazing, the incredible Philadelphia Locked On YouTube channel. When we talk about Locked On Sports, you're talking about this YouTube channel right here, Locked On Phillies POSTCAST, talking all things Phillies when we come back. How about the people at the Game Time app, ladies and gentlemen? You want to get to the game? You want to see the game? You want to be in the house? You don't know how to get tickets? You don't know the best way to get tickets? Download the Game Time app to your phone, and this is how you do it. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You see the seat view from your phone, so you know exactly what you're buying. All-in pricing. How much do you hate when you buy a ticket and you got a group of friends going, and then you're about to cash out thinking you're getting some great deal, and then all of a sudden it's like $50 in service fees. What? No. The Game Time app is where it's at with all-in pricing. Shows you the total cost up front. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. So many ways to save money on tickets as well with the Game Time app, no matter when you buy. So many ways to save tickets, like last-minute ticket deals, flash ticket deals, all kinds of ticket deals, even an hour after the event starts. So if you go into a comedy show, you might miss the opener, you might miss the middle, but you know what? You're going to see the headliner, the man that you're really paying to see, or the lady that you're really paying to see. You know what I'm saying? Also, flash deals, like I mentioned, are just incredible for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. And let's not forget about the zone deals, where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats. And that's ultimate savings right there. And how about this? The Game Time guarantee. You always, did you hear that word? Always get the best price. So let's say you're shopping around a little bit and you find tickets for somewhere else in the same section, in the same row, on another app or wherever else. Game Time will get you back on 110% of the difference. That's right. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That right there is the Game Time guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. That's code FIRSTPITCH, FIRSTPITCH, for $20 off from March 25th, already in the midst of it, or to April 14th. So you got 11 days. You got 11 days to have some fun with this. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute ticket deals, great ticket deals, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Before we get to where the Phillies go from here, Ricardo Pinto made his return to the big leagues last night. Now, I told you Spencer Turnbull did a heck of a job for the Phillies in their victory in this series. Bryce Harper was the star of the show, but the most unlikely hero for the Phillies in that 9-4 victory a night ago was Spencer Turnbull. So he comes into the game and then is just absolutely nothing short of spectacular. He goes out there, 5 innings, 1 run on 3 hits, strikes out 7 somehow. But he's not the guy I want to talk about right now. You would think in these days, in these times, travel is pretty easy. Well, the AAA affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies, Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, was playing a game in Rochester, New York. Now, wouldn't you know it, they needed the services of another bullpen arm for this game. They needed Ricardo Pinto. I've seen some people calling him Ricky Beans, I believe. Okay, Ricardo Pinto was in Rochester, New York. That's up there by Niagara Falls for people that don't know. That's like a 7-hour drive. So he gets the call while he's with the Iron Pigs in Rochester, New York. When I originally heard the story, I thought he was just in Lehigh Valley. I'm like, what's the big deal? He gets to the ballpark. The driver that was driving him from Rochester, New York to Philadelphia got lost when he got around the stadiums. Hey, we've been there at one point or another, right? Uber driver doesn't know where he's going, whatever. Gets to the stadium, has no idea where to go, just ends up dropping off Ricardo Pinto at the center field gate. Not convenient considering the clubhouse is all the way on the other side of the stadium. And the game, by the way, the game had already begun. So he ends up meeting the traveling secretary for the Philadelphia Phillies. He meets him at the gate, brings him in. This guy got a ticket? No, he plays for the team. What? No, seriously, come on. So he goes through the inner workings of the stadium, walks through the crowd, gets on the elevator, goes down to the clubhouse, says hi to Rob Thompson, puts on a uniform in the 4th inning of the game, and goes out to the bullpen. An inning later, after starting his bullpen session, an inning later, Ricardo Pinto makes his 2024 debut. He takes to the hill, and he gets shelled, right? Nope, he doesn't get shelled. He goes in there. He does give up 3 runs. 2 of them were earned, but gave you 4 good innings in a game that you pretty much had in hand before you gave it to him. Good hustle to Ricardo Pinto. Good hustle, I guess, to the driver for at least making good enough time to get there. The original story was he got stuck in traffic. Anyway. All right, here's what we're looking for your Phillies to see if they can put pieces back together when they're back on the diamond, this time in D.C. starting Friday night to begin a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals. It'll be a 6:45 start time on Friday night when they start up this series. By the way, 3-game series in Washington, 3-game series in St. Louis against the Cardinals, but you got Nola going against Corbin, so that'll be boatloads of fun as it is per usual. Although Patrick Corbin did not fare well in his first start of the season. Go figure, it was against the Cincinnati Reds. He's coming off a start where he went 4 1/3, allowing 4 runs, all earned on 7 hits, including 2 homers, and he also issued a walk. As for Aaron Nola, well, there's some decisions to be made here with the fan base surrounding Aaron Nola, unfortunately. Because a lot of people, they're out on Noles, okay? They think the 7-year contract was a bit much. I've been an Aaron Nola defender. This guy needs to put himself back in the Cy Young candidacy this year for this deal to even look good in year 1 of a 7-year deal. How things started out for Aaron Nola, that's not at all going to get you to that spot. Throughout his career, we have seen these waves of a 2 ERA, a 3 ERA, a 4 ERA, a 3 ERA, a 4 ERA, 3, 4, 3, 4. Last year was a 4. So if you follow the bouncing ball, this should be another, at worst, 3 ERA type season. But when his 2-seamer doesn't have life on it, when it doesn't have that tail on it, he's in a whole lot of trouble. Because this has never been a guy where he has been able to blow you away with 95, 96, 97 mile-per-hour fastballs. He's not able to mix up his pitches like that and set you up for a great changeup with that high-velocity fastball. It's not happening. He's got to be a guy that can be in control and will trick you, will fool you. We know he didn't do that in his first start. In total, 7 runs on 11 hits and 4 1/3. Gonna need a little bit more from Aaron Nola this time around. And 2 long balls as well. Friday, he'll get back to it. Thanks for watching, everybody. For the people that downloaded the podcast, also, thank you so much. Much appreciated. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow night, big Sixers game. We'll see if Joel Embiid is back in action again, this time against the Miami Heat, as these two teams, the Heat and the Sixers, really battle it out for play-in tournament supremacy, if that's even a thing, or just make it to the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, and then you don't have to worry about the play-in tournament, and all will be right with the world. Cross my fingers for that. I'm sure Connor Thomas will have a lot to break down for you on Locked On Phil's podcast tomorrow, so make sure you guys check that out as well. And then when it comes to those 10-9-8 76ers, make sure you guys are downloading that Locked On Sixers podcast as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys are wonderful as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta, and yes, that's right. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that this is Locked On Phillies Postcast, and on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. If there's a big game in Philly, we're talking about it right here after the game. Feel free to chime in as well, comment and all that stuff, and we'll kick some things around. We're talking about it right here on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be back with you guys tomorrow. See ya.